Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Every Day I'm Mothering. So we're going to be talking about everything that my family of 5 ate this week. We are plant-based vegans, so that means no dairy, no eggs, no meat. But even if you aren't any of those things, or maybe you're vegetarian, or you just wanted to incorporate a couple more meatless meals into your family's routine, or just more vegetables, some great recipes to get started with. I have several videos up now with a lot of good recipe ideas, especially for kids. So make sure to subscribe to the channel, click that bell to be notified, and go back and look at some of those too. And you should have plenty to choose from for some great ideas, no matter what things that you may like. But jumping into this week. On Monday, we did the cauliflower Alfredo again, and we have done this one before. The girls really enjoyed it, so they've asked for it again. And it's basically like a fettuccine Alfredo, except, as you can guess by the title, the sauce is made with cauliflower. Now, this time around, we did double it because everyone enjoys it. And we may have had a little bit left over for girls to have for lunch the next day, if any. It was very little if we did. But I will say with this one, if you are doubling it, that the sauce tends to get very thick. So this time when I made it in my blender, it almost turned out more like a mashed cauliflower consistency. So I had to add a bit more milk just to thin it down a little bit. So just be aware of that. You know, when you're getting all that cauliflower in there, it can easily get a little too thick when you're doubling. But if you're not doubling it, you don't have to worry about that, and just add a little bit of milk and it's fine. It thins right out. Tofu, I cut it up and covered it with some cornstarch and some seasonings and just baked it in the oven. I find that it gets the crispiest if you do it like that. Then I took it out and sauteed it just a little bit with some more of the sauce. I don't know that you really need to do that, but I feel like it just gives it a little bit of extra flavor. And when you bake the tofu like that, it really becomes more firm and not so soft and spongy. It's even better if you can freeze it and thaw it out. I just didn't plan ahead and do that, but it tastes even better if you do it that way. But this is just a delicious dish. It really does taste like fettuccine Alfredo as far as that, you know, thick coating of sauce. It feels like a creamy Alfredo sauce. Now, I won't say that you can't taste any cauliflower at all, because I mean, you definitely can note a little bit of the flavor, but it's not overpowering and it is really delicious. Feel free to add more salt and pepper anytime you're using cauliflower. I find that salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder really help with that flavor and make it really nice and smooth. So this is a very easy dish. It's something that your kids are gonna like. And again, if this is something you're just introducing and you're trying to cut out dairy, you know, try this Alfredo, try the mac and cheese. Some of these kind of classic pasta dishes are really gonna show your kids that they can eat this way and it's still gonna be delicious. On Tuesday, I decided to recreate a chicken hibachi dish. That's one of the favorites for my family. I already had some of that yum yum sauce left over from the sushi, and if you haven't had that before, it's that kind of white sauce. It can have a pinkish tint that you find on top of sushi, or they'll serve it on the side with hibachi. So since we already had it, I thought, of course, let's just try to recreate this dish. And it's really simple to do. You know, you're just taking your rice, which I use the Instapot for, so it's very easy. You do some vegetables. For us, we like to make the carrots, and I like to have them just a little sweet, so they really taste like those Japanese style carrots, which is really easy to do. You just slice them, boil them, and then saute them a little bit with a little bit of butter. If you want to put just like a little bit of sweetener, you really don't need much, you know, whatever you want to use. Syrup, brown sugar, or substitute, whatever you like, just a little bit of that. And then for our other vegetables, we like big chunky mushrooms. I like onions, a little bit of peas. You can throw in anything, zucchini, broccoli, whatever you like in your hibachi, but those are the ones that we tend to like the best. Just saute all that up with all of your good seasonings. And we like to use soy sauce, a little bit of sesame oil, garlic, onion. Saute those until they're consistency that you like. And then we went ahead and just diced up some tofu and sauteed it in there as well. So after that, you know, we just combined it all together, served it with soy or coconut amino, whatever you're using, and a little bit of that white sauce. And it was so good, and it really tasted pretty similar to the chicken hibachi we've had in the past. You know, the tofu cooked up really nicely, so we really enjoyed having that dish. On Wednesday, we had one of our favorite dishes that we've had since starting this plant-based journey, and it was enchiladas. Now, you guys know if you saw my first video, we love these things. Everyone inhales them. They are so delicious and really pretty easy to make. So we decided to make those again. Enchilada casserole is one of my daughter's favorite things. So they were really excited for us to go ahead and do this recipe again. It was just as delicious this time as it was the first time. Filling is sweet potato, roasted red peppers, sun-dried tomatoes, spinach, black beans, and it just cooks up and makes this delicious filling. The enchilada sauce is very easy to make. You just roll all that up, you bake it in the oven, and just cilantro, garlic, cashew sauce to go on top of it. Again, very easy to make, and all those things are so good. And what I really like about this dish is with that sauce, you can really use it as a dip, so you don't miss queso. Man, that's something you're struggling to replace. You can really just use this dip instead. And actually, if you've ever been to like a chewy style place, if you have that around you, and they have that like jalapeno ranch style dip, it's really similar to that. So we really enjoy just making these enchiladas, doing some quick rice. You could even do some refried beans if your kids like those, and having that little sauce with some chips. And it's just a wonderful meal. I don't know what the weather's been like where you live, but down here around Nashville, it has been so rainy for like weeks. And one day it'll be like 60 something, the next day it's in the 30s. So it's been all over the place, but just dreary. And when it's rainy and cold, I feel like, is there any better food than a big bowl of chili? So we hadn't made chili yet, and I decided we were gonna try one, and it's made with lentils. And this chili recipe was actually pretty quick and easy to make, but as with all chilies, I think they are really usually better the next day, and the more they kind of simmer and let the flavors soak together. So keep that in mind. We didn't do that with this one. All really enjoyed this chili. Craig is, again, usually like a big meat guy and not so much with the beans with chili, and even he said this is a really good chili dish. Now, in my opinion, the flavors were a little shallow, and I don't even know if that's really the way to describe it, but when we typically have made chili in the past, I like really deep flavors, and we will usually use like beer, coffee, hot chocolate, and lots of peppers, and it really makes this like deep, spicy, rich flavor. And this one just didn't quite get that way for me. And again, it could be that we had it the day of, but it was very flavorful. It's just like I said, they seemed shallow, if that makes sense. I think in the future, I may actually just try to recreate what we've used in the past, but use more beans, lentils, meat substitute, I'm not sure. What this was, I mean, everybody really enjoyed it. I thought it was good. It was an easy chili dish, something that you likely have all the ingredients for, and I could see us making it again, so we did enjoy it. But what we really liked with this recipe were these baked chili cheese Fritos that we served with it. These were so easy to make. It's just corn tortillas, and they are cut up. You bake them with some oil, and then you toss them in these seasonings. And they were delicious. They really did taste like Fritos. Everybody really enjoyed them. They were perfect on top of the chili, and then even just eating some on the side with it so they stayed crunchy. Now we ran out of nutritional yeast, so I wasn't able to add the cheese aspect onto these, so I bet they're even better with that. But these were so good and really easy to make. So all in all, you know, we were pretty happy with this meal. So Friday was Valentine's Day. So even though we typically don't do like a big breakfast throughout the week, you know, we had to do something special. And if you haven't seen it yet, I'll link it here. We did a Valentine's Day video, so you can actually see like what our morning was like and the special way that we did these pancakes. But we decided to make the vegan pancakes that we made several weeks ago now at this point. We've made a couple different recipes, trying different pancake recipes, and this one is my favorite. And it's very easy to make, and they're so good. And typically, you know, you just make them in the regular kind of really fluffy pancake shape. But for the Valentine's Day, I thinned it out a little bit and was able to make some designs and shapes with the girls that I went into in that video, so I won't do it here. We really enjoy this recipe. This time I served it with these little sausages that Craig had picked up one day when he was at Target, I believe. And they were just little sausage links. And they don't taste like typical like breakfast sausage links. The consistency is almost, this is gonna sound really gross, but almost more like a Vienna sausage, like that kind of really compact, like hot dog style consistency. I wasn't a huge fan of them, but the girls loved them. They ate the entire pack, and Elena doesn't even usually eat a lot of sausage. It's Adeline that loves sausage, and I don't even know how many she ate. 5 maybe? Like, they loved them, so I don't know. That breakfast overall was really neat, and they enjoyed it. Dinner on Friday, we decided to recreate another one of our favorites. So since we've been doing this for, I don't know, like 6 weeks now, I think, 6 or 7 weeks, we're starting to miss some of our favorite meals that we ate all the time. So I'm really trying to recreate those. That's what you saw with hibachi chicken this week, and last week when we made our Indian butter chicken in the Instapot. So I'm trying to do that so that we'll be more likely to actually stick with this. The more that we can see, we can still eat our favorites. So one thing that we've always loved to eat is a baked spaghetti. And the way that we make it, I'm not sure the official thing that you call this, but it's where you use half white sauce and half marinara. Some people call it like the magic spaghetti or $1,000,000 spaghetti or whatnot. But typically in the past when I've made it, we've used cottage cheese and cream cheese to make like that white sauce that you mix in. And of course we used sausage and cheese on it. So it was not a healthy dish by any means. Like there was so much dairy, so much cheese, like we always just felt kind of blah the next day, but it's such a good comfort food and it's so easy to make because you can make it all ahead of time and then just dish in the oven when you're ready to actually bake it. So anyway, so I wanted to recreate it, and especially on Fridays, like in the past, we're in and out, we have activities, so it's really nice to have like that quick meal that's already ready and it can go. To remake this, I'll just do our regular spaghetti, and then for the meat, there's a couple different options here that you could do, whatever you're comfortable with. We could do the tofu crumbles like I've done in the past with some of the different pastas. You could do any kind of meat substitute, like the Morningstar crumbles would be a good one. But we had the ground Beyond Beef. I've been wanting to try it. So I figured this is a perfect time. I'm going to just saute it up like I normally would with the meat, added the seasonings in. Say that it really seemed like I was cooking beef. I mean, the consistency, the way it chunked up and he broke it apart, even the color, like it just all seemed very meat-like. Which if that's what you're looking for would be great. If you don't like that, then I don't know why you would have meat substitutes anyway, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But I mean, it was really realistic in that sense. Then for the sauce, I decided to use that same cashew tofu cheese sauce that we've used in the past for mac and cheese. And the first time I had it, I thought this is gonna be a really good swap for that usual white cheese sauce in my spaghetti. And it's so easy to make, so I went ahead and did that in the blender, used the marinara sauce that I like from Walmart, doesn't have any added sugar in it, and then you just combine it all together. You take your spaghetti, take your white sauce, about half the marinara, and about a cup or so of like your shredded vegan cheese, whatever that you like, and you just mix that in, mix your meat in with it, dump it in your casserole dish, and then I like to add the rest of the marinara on top, and then about like another half cup or so of the shredded cheese just on top of that. Then you bake it at 350 for like 25 minutes or so, just until it's kind of melted, and that's it. And what's so nice, like I said, you can make all of that, put the cheese on top, and then just put that whole thing in the fridge, and then when you're ready, you stick it in the oven for that last 25 minutes or so. It tasted just like what we've made in the past with no dairy, which is amazing. So we were really happy with this. That cheese sauce with the tofu and cashew makes so much, and it's so thick and creamy that this was actually almost like more moist than what we've had in the past. And everyone really enjoyed it. I do want to talk about the Beyond Beef though. Really enjoyed the burgers. I've talked about it in the past. We like those. We were not fans of the crumbles. I've talked about that last week or 2 weeks ago, that we just didn't really like the consistency of the crumbles. For the ground beef, I'm a little torn. We really enjoyed it as far as it looks like beef, it tasted like beef. I mean, the consistency in your mouth, everything was very, very realistic. The only thing is that this time around, I felt like there was a little bit of an aftertaste. And I know I've heard people say that before about like the burgers especially, that they get an aftertaste or they can still kind of smell it or taste it on them like the next day, or it's had some side effects. And I don't know that we really had side effects, but I do think there was a lingering aftertaste. And it makes it almost that I don't want to try it again. I would rather use like Morningstar or some kind of crumbles that aren't necessarily as flavorful and as realistic, but don't leave that aftertaste. And then the next day, I felt very bloated, like my fingers and toes were swelling. And again, I don't know that it was that, but that's the only thing that we had done a little bit different. So we still have another pack in the freezer, and I'm gonna use it again. It'll be interesting to see in a different dish if we still kind of taste that, and if I do have those same effects, and see if it actually was that or just a fluke and something else. But all that to say, I don't know yet how I feel about it. Yeah, I'm gonna try it again, give it another shot, but it's pretty expensive, so we need to love it if we're gonna get that as like a treat sometime. If you like baked spaghetti, I highly recommend, trying this out. It's really tasty, and I just love the way the marinara and that white sauce blend together, and it just tastes like such a cheesy, decadent, like hearty, warm baked spaghetti, and it's dairy-free. Saturday we did our savory breakfast, and we did the country breakfast again. And I've talked about that before, but in my definition of a country breakfast, it's the good brown sausage gravy with biscuits and eggs, and then, you know, whatever else you want to add if you want some grits, fruit, potatoes, or whatnot. But for us, we did the very simple biscuit and gravy and eggs. And again, we love doing our gravy in the Instapot. It's just so easy. I use the Morningstar, I think Italian crumbles, and I put a little bit of sage in there so it tastes a little bit more like sausage. And that just turns out so creamy and so flavorful, and it really thickens up nicely. And then for the biscuits, we've been big fans of the Annie's biscuits that are vegan, and we've really enjoyed those. Now for the eggs this time, last time I did the just egg, and we liked it. It's kind of expensive, but it was a pretty good duplicate of eggs. This time around, I wanted to try the tofu scramble, especially in this dish where you're mixing it with the gravy. I thought we could probably get away with it not being quite so egg-like, you know, not when you're just eating them by themselves with toast. I don't know if this tofu scramble would do it for me in that sense, but in this dish, I thought, you know, we could probably be able to try this out and see how we like it. And it was really easy to make. I mean, it crumbles right up like egg. I did a little bit of vegan butter in there, a little bit of the turmeric for color, salt, pepper, a little bit of herbs, and it really turned out very similar to egg. Now, I do want to try the black salt, and I had ordered some, just hadn't come in yet from Amazon, but now I have it, so next time I make it, I'm going to try this. But supposedly, this just makes it taste just like egg. So I'm very excited to see if it actually does do that. Because while this texture was similar to egg, it definitely still had a tofu flavor to me. And this is kind of strange because tofu doesn't really have like a flavor, but it definitely had a taste of being more tofu than egg. Even with the gravy and everything, you could still taste it a little bit. Eat this by itself, like I said, with toast or something. It needs to be in something with some type of sauce, for us anyway. Now with the salt, maybe that'll change it. But in this dish, you know, it worked well. It's much cheaper than the just egg, and it made a lot more. But I will say so far my favorite breakfast has still been that quiche using tofu. I really recommend if you like a quiche egg dish to look at that one. But we love our biscuit and gravy, and so this hit the spot that day. For lunch on Saturday, we were running around with a bunch of different stuff and different times, so we just ended up eating some leftovers that we'd had from the last couple of days. It was quick and easy to have a big meal for that part of the day. On Saturday night, we decided to do pizzas again. We loved the pizzas we made a couple of weeks ago. Absolutely loved them, so everybody really wanted to have pizza again. Everyone likes helping me pick out the toppings and make it, so it's just a fun thing for us to do. So we made the same crust, just as easy this time around. I did add a little bit of garlic with the oil on the crust, and I think that just made it even better in my opinion. But all the herbs, whatever you want to do to season that up, that crust is so easy to make and really good. Then this time we still made that whipped almond ricotta that I just loved last time. But if you remember, if you saw in that video, Craig had thought that it would make a really good like spread on the whole pizza instead of just dollops. So this time I made one pizza with just the dollops and one pizza with the spread to see if we liked it. And everyone loved it with the spread. And it just like melts in with your pizza sauce. And it just is a really neat, like cheesy base for the pizza. It's really, really good. And then we did our same vegetables with mushrooms, caramelized red onions, some roasted red peppers, garlic, fresh basil on top when it comes out. And we also tried some new mozzarella cheese, and it's from the Pancakes, maybe, I'm not sure how you say it. We had the butter from them before from Kroger, and when Craig was there, he saw this mozzarella cheese. We thought we would try it and see how similar it was. Now, it's not cheap, so I will say that, but it was really good. I mean, it tasted just like mozzarella, and we didn't need to use maybe even a third of it for these two pizzas, so we still have a lot left. But I just sliced it thin and put it in chunks on top of the pizza, and it melted really beautifully, and it tasted very much like mozzarella. So we were really happy with that cheese find, and I can see us using it like on other dishes, but sparingly, like at the top, a little bit of flavor. It's not something that's affordable enough to be using like throughout a bunch of dishes for us. With the pizza, we knew we were gonna love it again, and you know, put a little bit of Frank's on it for us, and it's just perfect. But with a big bowl of popcorn, additional yeast sprinkled on it. So on Sunday, we did a coffee cake with cinnamon streusel topping, and the recipe is for making as a cake, but you can also just make it as muffins. And this was so good. Now, I wasn't sure how much it would make, but the recipe only does make 12 muffins. So we'll be doubling this because the girls had already inhaled, I think like 1.5, or I even sat down and had my first bite of one. So definitely could have used more. These were so good. They were just soft and moist, and that topping was just delicious. Now, I will say for me, I felt like the topping was just a little bit too salty, but Craig said he really enjoyed that. Depending on what you like, you may want to adjust that. I will probably take the salt down just a little bit in the future. But all in all, that was so good. We didn't even make like that icing to go on it. I just didn't feel like it needed it. Having that with a big cup of hot coffee just felt like such a special treat. They were pretty easy to make and everyone really enjoyed them. When we make our muffins, you can see I use the silicone muffin pan, and to me it is so much easier to use than the regular muffin tins. It doesn't stain like those used to, and especially for something like this, when you have like a streusel topping or some type of topping on it, it's really easy to pop out so you don't damage that top while they're cooling, and I just love them. So if you don't have them, I would really recommend maybe thinking about it or looking into them, and I'll link mine down below. But they're just so useful and so much easier. Just make sure before you fill them, have them on a sheet pan, because if you fill them without a sheet pan, you will not be able to pick them up. I have made that mistake before and it's a mess. So just fill them on the pan. I love this recipe and we will be making it again. On Sunday, we ended up having a late lunch, and what I thought was going to be like a small lunch ended up being like a really large meal. So we didn't end up eating like a big full dinner, just like snacked on stuff as the girls got hungry later on. So this was really like our lunch dinner. I made the crispy tofu that I've made before, and it's very similar and looks like fish fillets or more like fish sticks that you would think of. Now, I mentioned when we made it before, it was with a lemon dill sauce, and I really wanted to make it with more of a tartar sauce to dip it in. And so this time around, I found a tartar sauce, and we did a cocktail sauce as well, and it's just as wonderful as I knew it would be. I mean, we all just sat there and just dipped those things in our tartar and cocktail, and we actually doubled the recipe. So it was 2 containers of tofu, and we just kept going back for more. I mean, they are so tasty. And you're just taking your tofu, you marinate it, slice it up, and you put it in cornstarch, the marinade, back in cornstarch, marinade, and then the breadcrumbs. And this time when I did the breadcrumbs, I did add in some Old Bay and some dill. And next time I'll do even more of that. Like, I just sprinkled some in because I wasn't sure how it would be, but you just can't go wrong with more seasoning. And then you flip it, bake it some more, and they are just so good. And we made it with the mac and cheese that we've made several times now, but using that same sauce from the spaghetti that I talked about earlier with the cashews and the tofu. And we didn't put any meat crumbles or anything in it. We just wanted the plain mac and cheese to go with our tofu fish. It was a simple yet delicious meal. We really enjoyed it. There were hardly any leftovers. And it's one of those ones that you just want to just keep eating and like dipping, and they're just, I can't explain to you how good they are, but I really enjoy the tofu cooked that way and just this whole meal in general. You know how I feel about the mac and cheese at this point, but it was really tasty. My only thing with this weekend is I feel like I ate a lot of tofu. I mean, even with this dish, there were 3 containers of tofu between the 2 for crispy tofu and the 1 for the mac and cheese. And I've definitely felt more bloated and swollen this weekend than I have since we started this. And I don't know that it's related to that, but I am going to try to cut down some of the tofu this week and kind of go back to some of the recipes that are more the vegetables and beans and not so much the tofu or meat substitutes, just to see if that could be what's doing it. But if it doesn't affect you, to see if that's what's doing it. I'm not sure, but I do just want to scale back a little bit on the tofu and just see if that could be the culprit. Again, a great week. We all really enjoy the recipes. We're having so much fun doing this, and hopefully you saw something that you want to try. Make sure to comment down below. Let me know what you want to try this week, or something you tried in past videos that you're really liking, or if there's anything you want to see us try. I'm open to ideas and suggestions for new things to experiment with. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel and click the bell to get notified about next videos. We're getting ready to head out on vacation, so the next week or 2 when we get back, it's probably going to be a little crazy, so we're not going to have our typical videos with the meal plans, but I might still try to do something. I'm not 100% sure yet because, to be honest, it's crazy over here. I've procrastinated and we're in like crunch time mode to get everything packed and ready to go. We'll definitely be seeing you when we get back, because I know after going on this cruise and eating all this food, I am definitely going to be needing to get back to my plant-based eating. I'm sure my body is going to be craving it and needing it. See you next time. Bye, everyone.